WhiskyJason here, whiskey from the viewpoint of an American in Germany tasting rare and exotic whiskeys. And once again, I have something here that is rare and exotic. Glenallachie. We do know that Billy Walker now bought that distillery, but this is from Duncan Taylor, the Octave. And this is one of 80 bottles exclusively bottled for www.whisky.de, or as we say in English, horsed-with-whisky.com. Whiskey base number 100158, and I just love this little box. So there's a little magnet here. We have to open up. You have the little sound, and there's actually like a French door type of opening, a very, very nice thing on the back. There's all that story here about the Octave, about then the Duncan Taylor. Very, very good. And now, a nice. I only have a tiny, tiny little bit left. I'm going to tell the story here. I was at a whiskey tasting, not that I gave one, but rather I participated in one. And my whiskey Yoda, Holga, the guy that I learned a lot of my stuff from, actually gave another whiskey tasting. That was the first person I actually did a real whiskey tasting with that I learned something from. Irish, by the way, is what it was. And he brought along this bottle for our whiskey tasting, actually held in our volunteer fire department building in our little village that I now live in. Wonderful, wonderful thing. This has 52.5%. A total of 80 bottles were actually produced of this, and he himself bought 5 of those 80s because they had 4 different tastings. He did the same thing at 4 different locations, and the 5th bottle was for himself. So what happens here with the Octave is they take just a normal barrel from Glenallachie, distilled 2008, finished in 2017 after 9 years of maturation. It was an oak cask. It had a number 3014623. Oak. Didn't say if it's ex-bourbon, didn't say if it's ex-sherry, didn't say if it's ex-whatever. Just a normal oak cask. So let's assume it's a bourbon cask. And then they put it for 3 months into a sherry cask. About a 50 liter, maybe a 60 liter. Divide that by 4, 3.8. You get like a 20-gallon cask instead of the 50-gallon cask. So the Octave is not exactly perfectly an eighth. You'd think it would be, but it's not. You cannot get 80 bottles out of an eighth of a normal barrel. That would be 640 bottles. That's a lot. It would be big sherry butt. And this actually cost $49.90 at whisky.de. It was an exclusive. So we're running about $55 for a Glenallachie 9 years old with a 3-month finish in a sherry cask, which was very, very small. Wonderful. Now, the nose, I get a beautiful, beautiful sherry Hawaiian punch moment. And on top of that, I get a very, very strong moment of hard mineral-infused water. That's something I've gotten almost every single time I've tried anything from Glenallachie, is that that water that they're using seems to be a very hard, a very, very mineral high content water that flows through back into the whiskey. It's distilled. Of course, it's distilled up to maybe about 63.5%, or maybe they even distill it up to 70%, and they cut it with water down to 63.5%. And once again, it's put in the barrels, and so maybe that hard water moment does shine through, or is actually transported from the mashing, from the fermenting. Mashing is German, not English. Mashing. That those mineral notes actually come through all the way to the distillation process. Very enjoyable whiskey. Cilantro, and you can say Cilantro, which means good health to you too. Now, the first thing is, I almost forgot, 52.5%. Wow, that's a lot. The bottle's 2 days old, so don't worry about oxidation in there. We almost killed it. We would have killed it at the whiskey tasting. We were 21 people, each got about 3 CLs, so there's a tiny little bit left at the end. He said, hey, whoever wants to have something, there was a smoky, heated whiskey at the end, and I said, no thanks. He said, here, you like this one, take another sip. I was like, this is so good, I'd like to actually make a video about it, but there's not much left. He says, here, take the bottle with you. And I was like, thank you, Holger, you're great. And so that's what I did. And the interesting thing about Glenallachie, it means the valley, Glen is valley, of the rock. And therefore it matches actually that taste, that mineral content that I get here. Very, very nice. This is actually going to be a B- in my book. I'm going to put it down to, it's now 52.5%. I'm going to take it down to about 46%. A little bit of sulfur actually kicks in. Maybe it's that sherry cask. Sometimes you get that in the acidity of the this whiskey is also there, like a good Riesling, a white wine from Germany. Yeah, it does have that it grows on the Rocky Mountains on the Mosel Valley here in Germany. That shale. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. A lot of good Rieslings grow on these shale mountainsides, and that's what I'm getting, like a shale type of water residue from the runoff. Very good. Those 3 months in that very small cask did wonders for this whiskey. Glenallachie now at the moment, at least in Europe, has a core range of a 10-year-old cask strength, a 12-year-old, a 15-year-old, and 25-year-old. And they have, I think, over 46,000 barrels that they bought with the distillery 2017. And they are producing still at the moment, but we will have a lot of new distilleries. I'm sorry, not a lot of new bottlings coming out in the next months and years, and we're going to enjoy a lot of that Glenallachie has to offer. If you ever get your hands on something called the Octave, I'm sure you will not be disappointed. And that is my question of the day. Has anyone ever seen the Octave? You can look at that symbol here in the States or in England. Very, very nice thing from Duncan Taylor, Taylor. And they make always the same process. They take a barrel, they finish it, usually in a rejuvenated or also a sherry cask, and then they just allow it to be sent out in very small batches of maybe 80 or so bottles. I thoroughly enjoyed this. It got a B- on my value, on my taste, and a C+ on my value for money. 50 euros, maybe $58. Excellent, excellent, excellent whiskey for that price. And you even get the little magnet. Not bad. Thank you very much for watching. My question of the day you've heard. Thumbs up, subscribe, tell others. And if you haven't done so, please share. That'd also be a great thing. Thank you very much. Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, my videos come out. And I will see you soon. Whiskey Jason here. Bye-bye.